Game 7, first Game 7 since 2016. Cavs Warriors. Um, Started off electric. Tyrese Halliburton comes out of the gate red hot, locked in, has hit three threes, um, and then has an awkward play where he goes down trying to make a pass and immediately starts basically hammering the floor with his hand, and it cuts to him, and he's just in agony, and you can just kind of tell this isn't just like he restrained his calf. It wasn't a re-aggravation of that injury. And then it cuts to the replay, and you can clearly see. I guess it's not been confirmed, but it's an Achilles injury.
It's
It
one
really
of
looks
the.
like it popped. It's pretty vivid,
I think
pretty
it's the
clear.
clearest one I've ever seen.
ESPN also decided to show us 50 times during the game. So if you weren't sure by the first 10 times you watched it, you had another 40 to really make sure you saw it right. And that deafened the mood for a little bit. It was kind of a sloppy rest of the first half. And then kind of from there, second half starts. OKC really starts to pick up. They build up a 20-point lead at one point. Indiana tries to fight back. TJ McConnell gave big minutes. But Shea played a good game. OKC's defense was really good, really active. Lou Dort steals. Alex Caruso steals. Chet played good defense. And it was just too much. So when Indiana did try and mount their comeback, it was just too little too late. And OKC, like I said earlier, are your 2025 NBA champions. So, JP, you can hop in, take your flowers, take your victory lap. Go right ahead.
Yeah, I do want to say I picked them to win the championship. I felt that this was a team that was different than the precedent that was laid before them. This is the second youngest team to ever reach the NBA Finals. The first to win it, of course, and the youngest to win it, of course. This was a team that, having watched them plenty of times this season, and then having seen their previous postseason run last season, they add the key additions in Alex Caruso and Isaiah Hartenstein. And then for the big question coming into the postseason was Jalen Williams and a Chet Holmgren that had only played roughly 20 games that season going to be enough to help SGA allow this team to reach their goals and to reach the championship and ultimately win the championship? And they did. They did that. A ton of credit, especially to Jalen Williams. He was absolutely incredible throughout the postseason. Terrific in Game 7 against the Nuggets. Terrific in the Timberwolves series. In Game 5 in this series, he has a 40-point finals game. Not many people can say they've ever done that. And so he deserves a ton of credit for that. SGA was just absolutely terrific again. It was the way he played today is just another, like, it will go down in history, for me at least, as just another pinnacle, brilliant Game 7 performance. He was terrific. He kept the team engaged in the game and really is the reason that the game was even close in the first half, because outside of SGA, the Thunder had nothing in terms of an offensive push. J-Dub and Chet came along in the second half, and Cason Wallace played well in the second half, but it was SGA only in that first half. And the Thunder win a championship. It's their first, in my eyes, the first championship of that franchise, especially with the era we're heading towards, where it's more than likely Seattle's getting a team and they're getting the Supersonics back.
Sure.
So for me, I think it's awesome that the Thunder now have a title that they're going to be able to claim whenever that does happen. For me, growing up being a Thunder fan and cheering through the Katie Westbrook years, and then cheering for the Thunder when Kevin Durant left, and cheering for those Westbrook teams, and just the way that the fan base had always been just invigorated and completely connected with this team. It's really unlike any other fan base really out there for being such a small market in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. Like, when they do the pan view of the blimp shot or whatever you want to call it outside the arena, it doesn't look much bigger than It's definitely not. It definitely doesn't look much bigger than Jackson, Mississippi. Sanders. I don't know. You can kind of attest to that. It is. I mean, that is a tiny town and a very small market, and yet that fan base is just completely in love with their team. And for me, it feels so good that that fan base has a champion and that they got to see a champion win it in their home building tonight. I think it's just terrific for them and for that fan base, and it felt great for me having grown up watching this Thunder team and watching that Thunder fan base. It's awesome to see that they were able to cap this championship off.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy for the fans. And it was very earned. I joked in the chat about Mickey Mousery and stuff like that because of the Tyrese injury. But it was earned. It was deserved. And Shea really did cap off one of the best seasons ever. Just with MVP, winning the finals, yada, yada, yada. He really just did it all, and he did carry this team. For me, the game did kind of take a turn when Tyrese went down in terms of enjoyment. I feel like I've kind of had a pit in my stomach since that moment. Because I just really feel for the guy. I feel like he deserved a chance to kind of finalize what has been a legendary run from him in terms of clutch shots and big performances. So just for him to go out like that, it really hurts. But shout out OKC. I want to shout out my guy Alex Caruso, Texas A&M legend, now 2-time NBA champion. So have to give him some love. One of my favorite players of all time. So.
Yeah, I want to get into the Hallie injury more, but I'll get into that later so that Sanders can clip that better.
Okay.
Because I think it's going to be a good little 10-minute conversation.
Sounds good.
I have some really interesting thoughts on it. For the game, go ahead, Jack. What were you gonna say?
I was just saying I'll refrain from more Tyrese stuff then too.
No, you're fine.
Go ahead and talk about the game.
Repeat all of it.
Sure,
For the
that's
game
true.
itself, I did not feel that way, and that is not just me saying that as a Thunder guy. For me, it felt no different than the KD injury in Game 5 against the Toronto Raptors. And if you remember correctly, the team that won that game was a team that had the player that got hurt, the best player that got hurt after cooking in the first quarter. And that first half showed no difference in that. The Pacers were responding. And I felt going for that game, and I said it, like they were going to have to sustain it somehow. And they were going to have to get into a spot where they were in the fourth quarter. They enter the fourth quarter, and they're only down by about 5 or so, and then they would have a chance. And unfortunately, they couldn't get that done in the third quarter. They have some bad first 3 minutes and then bad last 3 minutes.
Yeah.
You obviously have the terrific T.J. McConnell minutes in those middle 6. And, TJ is the only guy that scores for a large period of that time.
Pretty inexcusable, honestly.
It is. I think a big portion of this was just on the Pacers side, they just kind of got away from some spots that had been productive for them. And it felt like it became more so just TJ McConnell or Benedict Mathurin or even Nembhard at times. Can you get to the rim? Like, can you just get lucky and get to the rim and get a layup off?
A lot of ISO
there
stuff.
Was really a ton of ISO. The offensive movement that they had in those first 6 minutes was really terrific. And a large part of it looks good because they were hitting threes early, but they were shooting with confidence, and they were I say that because they were unafraid to take big shots in a big moment. And it felt like as we got down later into the game that it just became, can we somehow get to the rim to get a layup? Because that is the only shot we have a ton of confidence in right now.
Sure.
Siakam took a few shots throughout the game where it's like, okay, yeah, but like a ton of those shots were just like unbelievably contested, which is, again, credit to OKC's defense. On the Thunder side, I got to give, a ton of credit to J-Dub and Chet for responding. They really gave excellent performances after a really poor first half. The Lou Dort experience is unlike any other.
It's an acid trip, basically.
7 He shot 9 threes. He was 2 for 9 from three. I would argue 7 of those threes were the worst three-point shot attempts you've ever seen in your entire life. And
I
the
think
two that he made, one was literally from half court, and the other one was just a standard three in the first half. I mean, the one he made from half court was ridiculous. It reminded me of Curry's three
it was nuts.
in the against the Cavs in that NBA Finals in 2018. The Lou Dort experience is absolutely insane. I got to give Cason Wallace some flowers. I spoke about him a ton in our chat. His experience is something unlike any other. He makes plays that make you think, oh, yeah, this guy after next season is going to develop into a guy that's going to get a max contract. And that may sound crazy to hear, like Cason Wallace max contract. But you got to remember who gets max contracts. Everybody in this version in the NBA. Everybody's got money and someone's going to pay you.
Yeah.
And Cason Wallace, if he makes plays like he did in the terrific ones, he'll be in that spot where he could be a max contract guy. But on the same time, he makes some inexplicable young mistakes, takes some poor shots. He's really, even though he was 2 for 3 from three tonight, he's got to find some kind of confidence or a go-to shot or something on that case. I personally don't think he should try to go down the 3-and-D route, especially if he's going to be on a max contract. You can't pay max money for a 3-and-D guy.
Correct.
He's too early in his career to not develop into some kind of scorer for that.
It may just be tough for him to do that on this Thunder team.
Sure. I agree. I wonder if he'll get some more of that shine potentially next season, especially in a bench role, a 6-man potential role, because he's really kind of like the 6th best guy at the bench. Caruso can be that at nights. Aaron Wiggins can, but for the most part, like you'd say, Cason is the surefire 6-man. There are a ton of questions in the third quarter. I want to talk about this. Is the Rick Carlisle coaching decisions. The big pushback was, why is Pascal Siakam not on the floor? And I want to say, like, if you don't understand why Pascal Siakam wasn't on the floor, then you don't understand, like, how difficult it is to be a head coach and to manage rotations, especially when you're put in a spot where a guy that's you coming into the night think is going to play 38 to 42 minutes for you goes down in 7 minutes, and you have to make adjustments to your rotation. And what they were doing and what they did do was take Siakam off early in the third quarter, let him rest, and then he was going to play the entire fourth quarter so he didn't run out of gas in the last 5 minutes. And the big pushback occurs only because it didn't pan out. And my goodness, man, it's okay. Sometimes it doesn't pan out. Like, I don't understand the pushback on Rick Carlisle there. You can't, this is going to be a common theme for me throughout the rest of the night, I feel like. You can't say, oh my gosh, this guy's such an incredible coach. He's such an incredible coach. If he wins the championship, he might be a top 10 coach ever. He really knows how to put a team together and lead a team to a spot where they shouldn't be. And then, like, question a coaching decision in the third quarter. Like, I get it. Game 7 of the finals, you got to have it. But Siakam played 37 minutes out of 48, and he was not – it's not like he was being super effective. It's not like it was Jokic or it was Luka or Giannis where, like, he had 28 points at that point. Like, he's got to try something else because he needed a jolt. My biggest coaching gripe for him was I thought he brought in T.J. McConnell way too early, and that showed. I mean, those first 2 to 3 minutes of McConnell were not good enough. McConnell throughout the entire series had been prolific in the minutes where Cason Wallace was guarding him or an Aaron Wiggins was guarding him, and neither of those players were on the floor at the time. So just for me, it felt too early to bring them in, even if it felt like the game was teetering.
Well, it's Rick Carlisle, so you can't question his decisions,
Sure. I agree. But if I had pushback, it would have been that, not the Siakam, because it showed. It showed in those 6 minutes where McConnell was effective. As soon as Cason Wallace came on the floor, he tore him apart.
I mean, he tore everyone apart down the stretch, though. Starters, it didn't matter. I mean, Cason Wallace, I agree that he had best success against Cason Wallace. I don't know. My thing is, I think you can agree that Rick Carlisle is a great coach and still think he made a wrong decision. And I get the fact that it's standard to rest your guy and hope he plays the whole fourth. But they needed something, and if they're not going to have any ball movement and they're not going to pass the rock and they're going to play a lot of ISO, Siakam's the best ISO player on the team. And so I want him on the floor. I get it's like a difference in philosophy, and I get that I'm not the head coach. It's just my opinion that I would want him on the floor instead of sitting him for like 6 to 7 minutes straight and watching the lead bloom. So,
Sure.
and I mean, if you sit Siakam and the game stays close, then yeah, I'll try and steal more minutes with Siakam on the bench. But as soon as the game starts to go downhill, I'd kind of like him in there because also, even if he wasn't having the best offensive night, he's one of the better defenders on the Pacers team. He was phenomenal with rim protection and help side defense, and I think they could have used that in the third as well. Though realistically, with how much they were turning the ball over, it wasn't like they were playing much half court defense.
Nope.
So, in my eyes, like looking at the game, so Hallie goes down, and the rest of the first half was kind of muddled, and we got to halftime, and the Pacers were actually up 1. And it was like, okay, the Pacers can win this. But in my eyes, it was like, man, OKC just played a terrible half. And if they can play well, if they can find a way to play like they normally do in the second half, which obviously maybe they wouldn't. But I didn't really see a way for Indiana to elevate their play much more outside of the first half. Barring a just insane pop-off performance from Pascal Siakam where he hits everything, or Benedict Mathurin just hits everything. And that's kind of what happened. OKC, settled in at halftime. Dagnall said we needed to say. They came out, they locked in defensively. The guys got going offensively, and the Pacers just had no answer. They kept jacking up the shots they were jacking up in the first half. Not much flow, turning the ball over, and it just kind of fell apart from there. So
It really was another one of those quarters that, for me, I've seen all season long
For
from
sure.
them, where it just became, okay, let's just lock in defensively and we're good. We saw this in Game 4 against the Denver Nuggets. We saw this again in the Denver series. We saw this in the Timberwolves series, and we even saw this in the NBA Finals. Like, they really were a team built on defense first, and they allowed that defense to explode into offense. And I think it speaks a ton about how prolific of a team it was that they were able to, even in the biggest spots throughout, for most of them, their first deep postseason run, find something that worked and getting it done for a quarter. And it was defense for them, and they were able to do that the entire postseason long.
Yeah.
It speaks a ton to them. I want to push back on I know you're kind of joking there, but NBA Twitter is not joking, and I don't think the NBA fan is joking either in the Mickey Mouse title claims. One of the most popular tweets that's out there right now, I assume it's probably up to 100,000 likes, is the one with pictures of all the injuries. I'll go ahead through each of them. Ja Morant, the first one. Jack, I'll do this by asking you questions,
Okay.
which is at the same time going to be asking a listener the question as well, so you answer it
Sure.
if you're listening as well. Jack, would you say going into the series against Ja Morant and the Grizzlies had any chance to win that series?
No, I mean, if you went and looked at our preview of the NBA playoffs, I think we made that pretty clear.
Then why the hell does the Ja Morant injury matter? There you go. There's number one. Number two, it would go into the Aaron Gordon injury. Jack, when would you say in that series Aaron Gordon was hurt and ineffective? And then my second question would be, Gordon was terrific throughout the postseason up until that point, correct?
Yeah. If I'm remembering correctly, yeah.
And it's the game winner in Game 1 against the Thunder.
Yeah.
So we can't say, oh, they were oh, it felt like they were out without Aaron Gordon the entire series. Well, who cares? Like, people get hurt all the time.
Yeah.
And you can't use that as a pushback because they had gotten to a Game 7 against a defending champion and the best player in the world, and they won that Game 7 as much as Jokic tried to take it from them. The third one would be Steph Curry and the Warriors and his hamstring injury, and I can understand how I'm a Warriors guy too. I feel like it would have been a very interesting series if the Thunder and the Warriors were to have played in the Western Conference Finals. But Jack, I'll ask you, how were the Timberwolves viewed going into the Western Conference Finals?
You mean like
in terms of their stature, where they kind of stood amongst the four teams that were left?
Gotcha.
Did they have a chance?
No, I mean, I don't really feel like people thought they had much of a chance. I personally didn't.
Okay, I kind of disagree with that. They were
Okay.
kind of the fan favorite, it felt like for me. And this is a team that had been to the Western Conference Finals last year.
Sure.
This is a team that knocked out Luka and LeBron, and no one said they had a chance then. So I felt like they had 2 series wins under their belt. I thought they were very impressive in the Warriors series post Steph getting hurt in post game 1. So I kind of that would be my pushback there. So for me, I don't feel like the Steph Curry injury has any impact on the Thunder in their Western Conference Finals. And then finally, I think for the Halliburton injury, it is, yeah, it happened. It happened in Game 7. But again, this goes back to what I said the last time we talked was we can't change our narrative there where, yeah, the Thunder were prolific favorites coming to the series, but that's Vegas odds. And ultimately, the game is played out in person and on a court. And, yeah, the Patriots were really favored over the Giants, but the helmet catch happened and they won the series. And that throughout history, you know, underdogs win. If the favorites won every time, Vegas wouldn't make any money. So you can't say when the Pacers take Game 1 and they take Game 3 that, oh, they're good, they have a chance. Because they clearly proved that they were on the same playing field as the Thunder. And injuries happen. It sucks Halliburton got hurt in the first 6 minutes. That image right after they win the championship where he's sitting there in the hall is just insanely painful, and that sucks. But that happens. Injuries happen. That is, you can't. Does the Raptors title have an asterisk?
No.
Do the Celtics title have an asterisk last year even? Does the Warriors title have an asterisk 2 years ago? I wouldn't say so. So I hate it. I hate Twitter so much. This has been a common theme for me since we started this show, and it just sucks. That app sucks. The fans suck on there, and what should be happening tonight is celebrating the Thunder winning a championship, becoming one of the great teams ever. I'll go ahead and list off a bunch of the accomplishments. They won 84 games. Only 4 teams have ever done that in NBA history. 2 Michael Jordan teams and the Steph Curry Warriors that lost the title. They won games by an average of 12.9 points. That is the largest scoring differential in NBA history. I'll ask a question to you, Jack, here. Is the Western Conference any good?
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah, they're
Pretty great.
damn good, and they were the number 1 seed in the Western Conference, and they came out of the Western Conference. And so I think that in itself is a statement of its own at how terrific this team is. And they're going to go into a Western Conference next year that's going to be even better, and I don't expect them to falter very much because of their depth, and I think they're going to keep a ton of their depth. But I say all that to just say, celebrate the damn championship, quit hating for no reason, and enjoy another chapter in NBA history because, yeah, some chapters suck. You don't like them, but, you know, a movie wouldn't be good if the hero won every single time or your hero won every single time. So enjoy it because, for me, like, I hate Patrick Mahomes winning championships, but it doesn't mean that's not a part of NFL history.
Sure.
So quit trying to discredit it. Instead, just celebrate it, or at least be okay with it, accept that it happened, and move on, as Kendrick Perkins would say.
Yeah.
Move the hell on.
I think it's a good clarification because I definitely will give it credit and acknowledge it. I've already said it's not a Mickey Mouse ring. I don't think you'll find me celebrating it very much, just for various reasons. I'm just not the biggest fan of this Thunder team. But what they did was amazing. I mean, you just rattled off their accomplishments, and I'm not going to take that away from them. As NBA Twitter might at this point, I mean, NBA Twitter is going to call any ring a Mickey Mouse ring, because you can find a reason to do that with any title. So you just kind of got to let it roll off your back. But I'll definitely give them credit.
They did win.
I'm not going to be popping a champagne bottle tonight or anything like that.
Nope.